Let me make sure this is the right clip. Okay, here we go.
I can assure you that the Last Supper definitely was not a Passover Seder. And I'll tell you why. First of all, in the Christian scriptures themselves, the Gospel of John states quite clearly in chapter 19 that Jesus was crucified on the day of preparation before Passover. Now, anyone who has ever hosted a Passover Seder knows that the day of preparation is spent getting the table set with all the dishes, cooking enough food to host an army, arguing with anyone who dares to step foot in the kitchen. Now, you don't have to be Sherlock Holmes to deduce that if Jesus were crucified on the day of preparation, then the Last Supper had to be the day before the day of preparation. In other words, 2 days before the Passover Seder.
Okay, so this is obviously a softball underhand over the plate for my father to then try to knock out of the park here. But this is a common... obviously, we have some differences between the book of John and the 3 synoptic gospels. So why don't we clear that up in the beginning so we know where you're coming from, Dad?
Oh, well, I don't think there's any differences at all between John and the synoptics. I think it is read that way. And I think it primarily is because we're not expecting on the first hand. We should expect that John and the synoptics are in concert with one another. John more than likely had at least a good understanding of the synoptic gospels by the time he wrote his gospel, if in fact we date it after the destruction of the temple, which most scholars do, not all, but many do. The simple point is that, and I'll cut to the chase, there are 2 preparation days. In the Gospels, the disciples come to Yeshua and they say, "Where do you want us to prepare the Passover, to prepare the Pesach?" And he says, "Go into the city." You know the story. Go into the city, and you'll find this man, talk with him, so forth and so on. And he'll tell him that the teacher needs the room for his seder. So that's a preparation day. That's when the disciples are doing this. Okay, well. Then it says in the Gospels, when he was on the cross. So this is after he's eaten the Passover, after he's gone across the brook Kidron and over to the Mount of Olives, and they come and they get him in the morning. They take him to the Praetorium. Okay, so you get you know, and he's on the cross, and it says they wanted to get him down off the cross, and they wanted to do it because it was a preparation day for the Sabbath.
Now, is that what?
So that the bodies would not remain on the cross.
We're in John at this point, right? We're in John at this point.
You have it in the Gospels, in the Synoptics too,
okay,
that it was a preparation day while he was on the cross. Okay, so you have 2 preparation days in a row. You have a preparation day for Friday, which is the first day of the 15th, I should say. It's the first day of the 7 days of Pesach, which is a Sabbath. Okay. So Thursday is a preparation day for the Sabbath festival, or the festival Sabbath, and Friday is the preparation day for the weekly Sabbath. You have 2 preparation days in a row, and that's why people get confused. And this is why this Ari Rosenberg apparently hasn't studied the Gospels clearly, because he would otherwise realize that there are 2 preparation days. So, you know, and by the way, the only time you can have 2 preparation days is if one of them is Thursday and one of them is Friday. That's the only time you have 2 preparation days coming together, ever.
Okay, so then let me throw a wrench. I'll play devil's advocate during this episode.
And on the twist of a word, everything changes.
So can you really say that the I don't know, what should we call them? The rabbis, the sages, the powers that would be to put Yeshua to death. Now, we know that it was Rome who put him to death, right? But would the Jewish authorities actually kill the Sanhedrin? Would they actually kill someone and put someone to death on the high holy day of Passover?
Well, the point simply is that if you had been there and you hadn't been on the inside, who was on the inside? The Sanhedrin was on the inside, okay, but the rest of the people weren't on the inside. So if Rome takes a Jewish person and executes him on the first day of your feast, okay, Rome doesn't care. Now, some would say, well, they didn't want to riot. Okay, granted, they didn't want to riot. But they had already, according to the Gospels, they had the Jewish leaders had already ramped up the people, so they were chanting, "Crucify him, crucify him, crucify him." So there was a large voice of people saying, "Get rid of this guy." And when Rome said, "Yeah, we agree because he is a threat to the Caesar, he's a threat to the local governor because he's calling himself the ruler of the Jews, etc., etc. And what is more, he even said he was going to destroy the temple. So we have plenty of proof to put him, to execute him. And so Rome executes him. The Sanhedrin has their hands clean from the whole thing. And so
in other words, hey, we didn't do anything on the Shabbat. Rome did that.
Absolutely.
Okay.